Jordan Wall to the Facebook world. Jordan is our new permanent Chief Administration Officer. It comes to us from Tumbler Ridge, and this is his second week, and already we've seen the excellent work that he's been doing, and we look forward to a long career with him and all of us at the table. So welcome, Jordan. We don't have any delegations tonight, but we do have minutes of the meetings from Wednesday, May the 6th for approval.
Second.
And any questions on that? All in favor? So we lost Councillor McGowan for a moment. What do we got here?
Pat was just talking.
Pat, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we lost Councillor McGowan for a moment, but I think we'll carry on here. So we don't have any committee reports. Unfinished business, we have the management report for May 20 for receipt.
Move receipt.
A second.
And any questions on the management report?
Councillor Minions.
Your worship. I guess over time it would be good to get clarification on maybe us deep diving into our intention part of the garbage, just before we were talking about garbage bins and weekly, bi-weekly, so a future conversation on what that might look like.
Yeah.
Clarification.
Yeah, go ahead, CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. So that's something I'll look into to see what the intentions are with service, and I'll connect with Emterra to see what they're able to do when it comes to that time as well, so council can have the options in front of you. I also want to give you an update that the finalization of the contract with Emterra is not quite as finalized as maybe we had all thought. There's a few items that have popped up in there, so it's something that I'm going to have to be working on over the next couple of weeks, and I'll report back to council once it's taken a few of its next steps.
Great, thank you. Councillor Grant.
And should we change the pickup from weekly to bi-weekly or whatever we do there? I think we need a really good communications piece on that, because just from watching the comments people are not understanding what we're doing.
Right, yeah.
So it's getting confusing for people and thus becoming negative, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we will ensure that once we're getting going, we'll have the communications piece. Maybe we'll have a communications person soon enough, and we'll go from there. So any further comments on or questions on the management report? Seeing none, all in favor? Right, that's carried. Thank you. And we have the updated Town of Comox Council priority summary, and that's for approval.
Move.
Second.
Any comments on that? Councillor Swift.
Just two comments. I think it looks good. I'm assuming that these are not in order of priority. These priorities.
Yeah, I don't
They're
think they
numbered,
are.
and I'm
No.
just assuming that those are just things we want to do, but not necessarily in that order.
Right, and I recall that from the sessions that we had, that they did not have those priorities.
Okay, good. And then there's only one small comment in that. Under the progress on planning, we listed St. Joe's, and although I know we want some redevelopment happening at St. Joe's, and I understand we've had conversations with them, it's really beyond what we can really control, given it's owned by somebody else. So
Right.
my question is, should we remove that?
Well, perhaps I will go to the CAO, to the planner, because Marvin and I had some discussions with somebody who was from Providence about that. And so the discussion I recall, Marvin, was, what they would need for rezoning, and they were going to get back to us. Was it you that was with me?
Yes.
Okay. And so I think we're kind of waiting on their next steps. Is that
Correct, and I think that they were waiting on the district.
right?
And that's probably been delayed.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, it's up in the air if we want to have a placeholder in there, or if we just want to remove that altogether, because I do think it's years away.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are, we don't have much control over what they want to do in terms of the overall vision for their campus. So, yes, we can support them with zoning and all those kinds of things, but in terms of something that we can really initiate, it's not really our job.
Right, okay. So, Councilor Minnies?
Yeah, I would be in support of removing that piece for now. I don't remember it being something that we spent a lot of time talking about on the table, so. Might be something good to dive into next year.
Yeah, I think when we did that, we were looking at a couple of different sites over at the school and that, and just saying, hey, there's a real redevelopment opportunity in that area, but it's, as you said, probably not something that's a priority of ours. It will become as they start to go.
Yeah, so we'll have you guys remove that from the management report and Councilor Minnies.
Just to be challenging. When Murray made the point of it, it could be interpreted that those are numbers. Could we change them to bullet points just so that it's not interpreted as prioritized numbers?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I know this is our second.
All right, so we'll remove the healthcare St. Joe's site and we'll put bullets in there. Okay. And Councilor Minnies.
Can we, now if those changes get done, can we motion to have that then kind of finalized and reported out to, as like a news release, or I know it's been a couple agendas, but if those two changes are made, everyone's going to be able to state a final copy.
Yeah, and to incorporate all this. Right?
If okay, can I just make a suggestion that you approve as amended?
Okay, yeah. So,
Excuse me, Mayor?
Yes?
Yeah, we either need to fix the mics or everybody needs to speak up. It's very difficult to hear on this side.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies.
So we are, we're just doing a little bit of house cleaning with the council priorities, putting bullets instead of, numbers, so they're not in priority. We're going to remove the St. Joe's, no, that was a different one.
Relationships.
No.
Sorry.
What was it? Oh, you were doing something.
I am.
Yeah, so we're just cleaning up that. Councilor Bissinger, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering, are we releasing this to the public? Because if we do, I mean, with the whole COVID situation, I think it's important that we sort of focus on that and keeping the community safe as a priority for 2020. And I've noted there's a couple of these projects that have actually dropped to the wayside because of our changes to our budget due to COVID-19, implement capital plan 2020, dog park, so on and so forth. And there's a few that we've already done. So I'm not sure what the angle is if we're releasing this to the public, and if we are, we should probably change a few things, because if we release it as it is, people are going to be like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what about, all the changes due to COVID and all the, a couple delays and hiring delays in projects or whatever with our previous budget vote.
Yeah, well, it's certainly taken on a different flavor of the environment that we're in now.
Yeah.
Is that something council perhaps wants to hold on to this for another couple of weeks, another month, discuss it, and then, maybe clean up a few of the things at CEO?
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion, I think that's an excellent point to bring up. And it goes to the importance that council places. Nothing? Can you hear me?
No. Well, we can hear you because you're a loudspeaker, which is great.
Okay.
But the microphones aren't working.
I'll speak loudly. So I think it goes to one of the important questions that council needs to answer right now, and that is what the focus that council wants administration to have is, whether it's on the things within the management report and things within the strategic plan, and does the strategic plan still represent council's desires moving through, given that we have COVID. I think that's a really important discussion for the organization to have as a whole, and I would suggest that maybe we schedule a committee of the whole meeting coming up and have that as the topic, so council can take a look at this, get into it, and we can figure out where we want to go.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
So do you want a motion to do that, or can we just say, let's do that?
I'd prefer a motion personally, but it's up
Okay,
to
I'll
you
move what
guys.
he said.
All right.
I'll second that.
And
If that works.
All right, so so we'll, at an appropriate time, get together via Zoom, in person, I don't know, and we'll kind of flesh this out a little bit more. So all in favor of that?
And I think something important, I was gonna wait until after when I did my report out for the RD, but because of the RD budget cycle, we kind of were ahead of this, and we did this just as COVID was beginning, but the RD is now backtracking and going department by department and looking for the efficiencies and things that they can do to change. So it's a lot of work to go back rather than to just address it right off the hop. So, and it's interesting to listen to the conversation because everybody thinks it's a wonderful idea, as long as it's not their project, it doesn't get done.
Yes. Yeah.
So it'll be a good discussion.
Yeah. So we'll move, if no further questions on that, move receipt of the council priorities.
Move.
Second.
And all in favor? That's carried. Yeah. Okay, so going down to the new business and notices of motion. I have to be careful here that I speak loudly and not moistly, as I'm told not to do. So yeah. So the first one here, planning report PR 20-4. Extension of Comox downtown vitalization program. So we have,
Second?
okay, so are you moving all of those, Councilor
Yeah.
Grant? So you're moving 1 to 5?
Yes.
Okay, and there's a seconder for that. So any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And down to planning report PR 20-5. This is a temporary patio and parklet program that we're trying to help our businesses in town get going. And so it's council authorized staff to suspend until April 1st, 2020 enforcement of, and then we have a whole bunch of points here.
So I'll move number 1, A through G.
A through G.
And it was September
Second.
first, you said April.
Did I say April? Okay, yeah, so that's until September 1st. All right, so all in favor of that?
Second.
Okay, second. So any questions on that? Oh, Councilor Grant?
Well, I don't really have any questions. I just, I think this is a really important thing for our community and especially for our business people to get their businesses back started and to allow people to get out and actually have some interaction. And I really want to thank Jordan, who, walked in the door and he's been there for a grand total of 3 hours.
Literally.
Here's what we want. Make it happen. And between he and Marvin, I think they did a really good job of this to get something that's quick and efficient, that people can actually come in and get a really quick response and get out the door. And we can get a little bit more back to normal in our routine lives. So thank you, the two of you, for doing that on really short notice. I think that was really good.
There is one thing that I wanted to bring up that I spoke with the CAO, and because the way we have it is that it'll go to planning, and then it'll come to council, and then because we're meeting every 2 weeks, it could delay it by the 2 weeks. So I see the planner has his hand up. So through the CAO to the planner.
But I only moved number 1. Number 2 is the parklet one where that becomes.
Am I ahead of myself? Okay.
You might be ahead of yourself.
Yeah, all right. So hold that thought, Marvin.
That was the point I was making.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So then any other comments, questions on number 1A through G? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Great work, guys. And then
Perfect.
I'll move number 2A through, no, 1 through 5.
I'll second them.
It's 8.
No, 2
Or
through 5,
B.
sorry.
Well, it's got 2.
It's
So
B.
B is 2 through 5.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that, and you moved 2 to 5.
Yep.
So have a seconder on that?
Councillor McGowan, second.
Okay, and do we have any questions on that? Comments? Councillor Swift and then McKenna.
Thank you. I know that, can you hear me? Pat? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I know that the town of Comox, we're advocating for the liquor and cannabis regulation branch to allow for these patios. But until they do so, what do we have an issue with, say, the tap house or any other establishment that's serving liquor extending onto their patio?
The CAO?
So as long as it's food only, well, from a town perspective, we don't have an issue with any of it. The Liquor Control Board is of course the provincial government. But as far as extending their food, there's no issues with that. But they would be in violation of the law to start serving alcohol or having alcohol brought out there without permission from the liquor LCCRB now. And that's not something that we can change.
So are we in an awkward position then by approving this? Or who's going to police that, if you like?
Maybe I'll pass that over to Marvin and who would actually issue the tickets for that.
The liquor licensing control board issues their own tickets for variations. What we tried to do in formulating this plan was take into account there may be changes coming forward with the province in a relatively short time. So it's quite flexible, and based on as much the information that we have at this date, it can easily be expanded. So, for example, if the province then says you're allowed to have increased outdoor seating as long as you don't exceed your existing liquor license without requiring for an amendment to your application, this program should dovetail with it. The parklet, where you're going to get into a problem is the parklet program is not designed for, because you also have, the problem with the parklet program is you have a public way to see. So, and then there's a whole bunch of liquor regulations that get into in terms of serving a drink costs. But I wouldn't see that as a primary area where that's going to come into is on-site. And again, that portion under one is quite flexible. I don't foresee it. If Toronto opens it up, we should be coordinated with it.
Great.
Okay, I had Councillor McKenna and then Councillor Grant.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions. Number one, we have in section 2C, the approval is limited to 60 days. So I have two questions around that. If we're going to, do the first motion above to September 1st, I'm not sure why we would limit an approval only for 60 days. If someone's approved in the first week of June, it's going to expire in August, and that might be a tricky time for us to review and consider anything. So that would be one concern, but possibly there's just a switch flick that extends them to 30 days, and maybe staff could talk about that. And then my other question is more specifically around the request that the Church Street Tap House had and how it might relate to them, like how long it might take a business, whether it's the Church Street Tap House or another business, to apply and move through the motions on this, like is there a considered timeline?
Okay, would you like to answer that, CEO, or pass it to the planner?
I'll talk about the first section of it, and I'll pass the tap house over to you, Marvin. So in regards to the 60 days, this and the difference between this and the on-site was just we thought council might want to have more control on what's going on to the public lands. And so the 60 days allows for the program to be out there for council to see how it's impacting the community and decide if you want to move forward with it. Now that is, I would call it just an escape hatch, and it's only there to allow council to make changes to this program or changes to the number of areas that you've approved after being able to see how it operates and get community feedback. There's not really a concern from staff if that wants to be extended out to the entire portion of time that we have considered in the on-site, which is to September 1st. So from staff's perspective, there's not a concern on that. It was just a way for council to have control over what's happening in the community. As far as the specific question on the Church Street Tap House, Marvin, can you comment?
Certainly. The parklet program, there is a requirement to enter into a license. We'll have a standard license that they can enter into, and that's because it's town property, so it's town liability. They'll also have to show proof of insurance identifying the town. I would assume that somebody like the Tap House is going to focus a lot more in terms of on-site, expanding their on-site seating. That's my understanding, that's the direction they wish to go. In which case there is, depending on how they do it, if they're not constructing anything, essentially we would liaise with them, and there's unlikely to be any permitting process whatsoever.
Sorry, just missed the last 10 seconds. Unlikely to be.
Any permitting system whatsoever for on-site, because all we're doing is suspending enforcement. So all we would do is work with them to ensure they didn't trigger any regulations, and they just set up the seats.
Okay, thank you. I think you said it wouldn't take long at all.
For the on-site, no.
The reason I say it that way is I still can't catch the terminology you're using.
He said no permit required at all. I think that's.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you, yeah.
Okay.
So
CAO.
when it comes to the on-site, there's no approval that needs to come from administration. All you're going to need to, as long as you're not building anything, if you're building something that requires a building permit, you're going to get caught into the normal process. So as long as you are not building something that requires a building permit and it's on site, there's no approval process necessary. When we're talking about the stuff on town property, the approval process timeline, as long as people give us the information we need, which is not that difficult, we're going to need basically a site plan to see what is going to be done. We're looking at 1 to 2 day turnaround from staff's point of view, and then what council wants to do for your approval. So do we want to run this through the regular council meetings? Do you want to schedule quick special meetings when these come along for it to move forward quickly? Or as the mayor and Councillor Grant have noted, do you want to just take this out of council's purview altogether and turn it over to staff and have us approve it? And when we get to that consideration where staff is going to if council wants staff to consider approving these applications, and again, we're only talking about the park, but where it's on town property, what we would look at is simply, do they conform to the regulations? If so, go ahead. If not, you can't. So we're not going to go out and say, well, maybe there's another business that wants to come here. Maybe we've taken too much parking. Maybe we have too many. That's not going to be what we consider. We're just going to simply say, can you conform to this program? Yes, you can. Here's your permit. And if I could just add one more thing.
Yeah.
So what I would encourage council, because it sounds like you're talking about two different things. One, to make the decision on what you want the timeline to be, whether that's 60 days with 30 is okay. And the second decision to be made, whether or not you want to review it and approve within council, or whether or not you want to delegate that decision to staff.
And Councillor Grant, go ahead.
All right, so got a few things here. So in speaking with the Church Street guys, they are going to be on site. Any of these liquor guys that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to a few, are all really familiar with whose jurisdiction it is with liquor, and they know it's the liquor board. And I know that economic development have been working hard with them to try and get rolling on something that would loosen up some of the rules, and hopefully they will get some of our archaic liquor laws into the modern world here, because I think they're really stupid the way they do it now. But they're all really well aware of that. When we went in to see Marvin and Jordan, the deal was, we want to be able to walk in on Monday and come out on Wednesday with a permit, and they've come pretty darn close to that. Now, I think if we want to give staff the ability to issue these permits, we should stick with the 30 days with the 30-day review, just in case we screw something up or we get something wrong, then we've got a 30-day out to say, we messed it up. Right. I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look around the community, how many of these things do you think you're really going to get? A handful, I think, at most. 10 would be an overwhelming success, in my opinion. So I think that as long as we leave that 30-day piece in and then let staff do it, I think if we can get the regulations out of the way and get people rolling, I think that's the most important piece right now.
Right, and just to add to that, yeah, Councillor Bissinger, one moment. To add to that, Councillor Grant, today I received a direct email from Alan Lingwood, who's the manager of local government liaison with the liquor and cannabis branch. And he says that he understands our concerns. This is following up from the request that I made to the ministry to fast track this. And they're working diligently on this matter, specifically as it relates to restaurant and brew pubs. And so the CAO, and I talked about that earlier today, and he's got the contact and he will liaise with them. And so hopefully with what we're doing, hopefully with the correspondence that the CAO will have, that we can expedite that part of it as well. So, and Councillor Bissinger, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just one comment. I'm really happy that this is moving forward, and I also agree with Councillor Grant that I would trust the staff to deal with it and just have our review every 30 or 60 days. I guess one question, I know, when you look at like Smitty's, Kobo Sushi, and like the Mill, for example, there's a lot of cafes and restaurants in close quarters. So if they were each to take 2 parking spots, I know parking, like in the report, it says parking is sensitive within the community. So I'm not sure, like, has the mall owner been involved in this? Just having that, situational awareness that his parking lot might get fuller or might get used for people going to these other businesses, and where does that leave parking for the shops, for example, like the retail stores that aren't entitled to this program at all. So that's all I'd want to consider, and maybe we could have an agreement or something with the Legion to allow for more parking for non-Legion members or whatnot there, just to sort of allow for that extra space to be used up without blocking our downtown, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any other further comments, questions on that? Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, just last one, just regarding the parking, there's no way, shape or form they can take an accessible parking spot, right?
Good question. I don't think
Nope.
we're saying no.
Okay, I think we just want to make sure of that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And Councillor Grant?
So if I wanted to move that we allow staff to take the lead on this and leave the 30-day thing there, do we have to amend this motion at all, or what should we do?
Yeah, so CAO.
I would suggest an amending motion that section 2C be amended to require administration's and not council's approval.
Okay, done. We'll move that.
I'll second.
Okay, great. So any other questions on that? All right, so we've talked it all, so we're ready to vote on that. Any other further questions? So all in favor of the motion and the amendment? Okay, great, and that's carried.
We're moving along.
Yeah.
So you guys pass the amended motion.
Okay, so, and vote on that one. Yeah, okay, so on the amended motion, all in favor? All right, that's carried, thank you. All right, so that was rate to C that we got. And now we're just down to correspondence.
So I'll move receipt of Larry King's public outdoor facilities letter.
All right,
Second.
all right, and any comments?
So did we get back to this guy? Because a lot of his issues in there are, out of our control or beyond what we do. So he took his address off, so it was hard to tell where he was coming from, but I assume we got back to him.
Yeah, CAO and I discussed that the other day, and that one is still up in the air. I know I responded to a few when they came out, and I have to go back to see if I responded to that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd like to send that out to councils. What do you expect when these come in? My initial reaction to this email would be, it comes into council, it's making a criticism. If you guys want to address it, you can, and if not, it's not something I would normally reply to. If people want to have that conversation, they're free to call town hall. But if you'd like us to respond to these things, we can. It's up to the council.
In this particular case, normally I would have just given this guy a call and said, hey, here's the reality, but there was no way to really get a hold of him because he redacted it.
I think we redacted.
Yeah, that's just because
you guys
public.
redact, I don't know, but anyway, I couldn't get to it. So.
In the original correspondence, the
Yeah.
information was there.
Yeah.
And this might have been one where honestly it went slipped through the cracks when I was responding. Because you recall, I sent an email out on a Saturday saying that I will be responding to these because there was some other criticism. And I might have slipped on this one.
Well, I think a response that just says, if you'd like clarification on some of this stuff, give town hall a call.
Yeah. If there, for myself,
Something generic.
if there is a direct email to the mayor, I would like to respond to it. I may obviously get input from staff, but I feel that we owe it to them. Yeah. Okay, Swift and then Minions.
Thank you, and I guess in addition, if you were going to respond to this, so, the regional district, at least at the very beginning, was very keen to have collaboration and a single message coming from them. So, so he could be referred to their website to get the messaging.
I'll just refer the message. The whole thing,
Yeah.
So, but I do think when somebody takes the time to write to us, that it's good to get a response of some sort.
Yeah, and normally I do, and I will take the blame on this one because this was one that I wanted to respond to, and then I got caught up in other ones, so. There, yeah. So all in favor of receipt of that one? All right, so that's carried, so.
Just a quick question. I
all right.
know that the regional district issued the statement today that obviously the rec centers is being a joint review. Is there any estimated date that we're able to give people, or is the date just very challenging?
Leave that with the CEO.
So we're already undertaking work within the community center to prepare for reopening. My understanding is that no rec facility in BC right now is planning on opening until BC Parks and Rec has a guideline agreed to with the provincial government.
It did seem like it was a liability issue. It's not even just regional wide.
It's province-wide.
Province-wide,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, I want to caveat that with, there may be communities that decide not to wait for that and not to wait for that agreement to come out. Right now, this region is waiting for that agreement to be finalized.
No,
But
that's
that,
important.
yeah, and that's not to say that everything's going to be open at the same time. That's likely not going to be the case.
Was there any other questions? I thought, okay, sorry, Maria, I thought your hand was up. And then we have the other correspondence there regarding the accessibility.
Move receipt?
Second.
And any comments on that? Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, is there anything we do to recognize National Accessibility Week in the town of Comox? Anything in the past we've done? And it might be maybe just a question that staff can take away and.
Yeah, to the corporate officer, she'll respond to that.
To my knowledge, we have issued proclamations, but that's it. In recognition of accessibility.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything that we want to write for a grant for, as indicated in the letter, but maybe a proclamation would be something that, at least, coming from the town of Comox, that we're recognizing National Accessibility Week. I'm not sure how the mayor feels about a proclamation, but.
Yeah, no, I'm always good for that, but
You gotta keep up with Bob.
yeah. Staff and I can run this one through and we'll come up with something to recognize it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so all in favor of receipt? That's carried. And then we go to from Jesse Kettler, who is the CBRD board chair, and this is the appointment of mayor for the task force.
Move receipt of that?
Second.
And any comments on this? Councillor Swift?
At the regional district, there was a keen sense to get the economy restarted, and these leaders were selected as the start of that, with the idea that they were going to add business people to the list. But I think it should be noted that this is one of the things, economic development is under some pressure here, and some of these dates and the timelines just simply don't work now. Planning sessions to be in place for each sector team by May 15th. Now we're just receiving it now. And they want the deliverables by June 30th. So I think I have a concern over the timelines because I think the economic development is going to come under scrutiny for not meeting them when it's not possible to do that.
Right.
So I just like it to be noted, and I think generally it would be great to have a group together, putting heads together and coming up with suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if I may, this group will be expanding for sure. This is just a very basic beginning and to get some terms of reference rolling, but we'll be including, or they will be including Chamber of Commerce, BIAs, and then probably Mount Washington, and, I just think off the top of my head. I think one that we should really look at is the Airport Commission, to have on there. I know Fred Bates is not well these days, but if you think about airports on Vancouver Island and the state that the airlines are in, we have 4 fairly significant airports on the island, and do we really need them all? And we sure don't want ours to be one of the ones that gets on the chopping block. So, WestJet and Air Canada start, cutting way back, which they're going to have to. We'd certainly like to be one of the airports that stays. So I think that that's an important piece to have in this group as well. So,
And Harbor Air too. Just our
and Harbor Air.
Harbor Air.
It is all the harbor authorities.
Yeah.
All right, so Councillor McKenna?
Yep. So thank you. I agree with all the other councillors' comments. It's great to see something started because I think it's so important. Our economy can't suffer too many more blows. And so having all these great minds together is awesome. I like the fact that I do see arts and culture represented in C under number 4. What I don't see represented is the nonprofit industry. And the nonprofit industry doesn't mean no profit. It just means it's a nonprofit charitable industry. And they're not represented. So hopefully somebody can take this back, or we take this back, or I take this back to the group, and to get some indication of who can be included from that business. There's 200 charities employing thousands of people in the Comox Valley. And so I just think it needs to be represented.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I suppose at this time we should have a motion that we are appointing the mayor on this. And
I appoint the mayor to take my comments back to this committee.
I was just gonna say, well, we have a motion on the table already.
Yeah.
to receive, okay, and
So we could receive it and then.
just appoint, okay. All right, so all in favor of receipt? All right, that's carried.
And then what Pat think is.
And then Pat, you're putting a motion forward.
So I'd like to make a motion that the mayor is the appointed senior person for the town of Comox to represent on the TAC committee.
Okay,
Only if he takes the nonprofit.
and perhaps of having the CAO Jordan Wall as an ad hoc member with.
Yeah, Maya just made a friendly amendment there. I don't know if you did that. So yes, appointing Jordan Wall and Russ Arnott as members. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, so any other comments on that? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And I do believe that brings us to the end. And we'll just do a roundtable of any quick updates, which you did in the last couple weeks. Councillor McKenna?
So attended the Community Justice Center meeting, actually attending another one again on Thursday. And then I just have to put my glasses on. So the MRDT tourism call through CVEDS, I think, set it up. It was an excellent call. And again, talking about the tourism industry, you know, if we think the business community is in a world of hurt, tourism and business is in an ultimate world of hurt as well. And so it was an excellent call. It was very thought-provoking, and everybody's working together to try and ensure that when travel opens inside BC under next stage, that it's going to be, you know, thoughtful and safe. And we sure need to get tourism inside our own province working. Also attended Dr. Charmaine Enz's call, last call, and that was excellent as well. It's nice to see we're doing very well as an island, and we're controlling ourselves very well. So it's awesome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McGowan?
Hi, I have been attending Food Policy Council and the Food Disruption Subcommittee, and there's lots of great things happening there. I spoke to Pam Mountain, the chair of the Board of Archives and Museum. They do plan to remain closed at this point, although behind the scenes, always lots working. The Senior Center, Destaire, is waiting for word from us in the province about protocols and operating procedure and stuff like that to be able to move forward with opening there. I attended a webinar about the environment, climate change, and lessons from COVID-19. That was quite interesting. I believe I also was on that call with Dr. Charmaine Enns. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something, but that's okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bissinger?
Thank you. Also attended the CVED's MRDT meeting, so the big focus was the Explore BC local, which was nice to hear.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
And I guess the waste and the hospital board meetings haven't resumed yet, so I'm assuming those will get started again fairly soon.
Maya's happy with that, so we're happy with that.
So big.
Councillor Minion.
Yeah, similar meetings, the Explore BC CVED's meeting, which was interesting to hear how the hoteliers were, how much cost they have with no real realization of getting income in the next couple months unless people start staycationing in their hotels. So we only have the one in Comox, so that makes that easier to not a lot of sport in Comox. And then I went to a PAC meeting last night just because I was really curious what the students and parents were doing around PAC meetings. But they're expecting 50% of students to return back, which I actually thought was a high number for between 2 and 5 days for the last 3.5 weeks of school. I was curious what people were thinking. So the teachers have been really doing innovative things on their computers and trying. So I think parents are having a hard time, but the teachers have done a lot with what they could in 2 months. So potentially kids will be going back at about 40 to 50% of kids. So hopefully that's an okay thing for the island.
All right, thank you. Councillor Grant?
Thank you. So I attended the sewer commission meeting, the water meeting, the rec commission meeting, and the RD, but I'll report out on the sewer and the RD, and I'll leave Councillor Swift to do the rest. On the sewer, we actually made a change to the odor suppression system on the Curtis Road plant. The reason they changed it is because it's actually less money and it's actually a better way to go. So, and the area B rep was at that meeting and she was happy with that. I've also been part of the economic development negotiating team with Director Arbor and Councillor Hillian from Courtney. So we're negotiating a deal with ECDEV. More to come on that and how it's going to affect tourism and things, but we're wading through that. Just about at the end, I also attended the MRDT Tourism Conference on Zoom. And I think I talked about the economic task force, which we have put in place and is starting up soon. And I talked to you already about each department at the RD going through and trying to find some efficiencies in what they do. And they were a little bit of a victim of timing in that, you know, they had to get their budgets in before, and so passed the budget and then went, oh, maybe we would have wanted to look at that. So they're kind of going back and doing it that way. So it'll be an interesting task, but to me, that's something that, you know, it's interesting that they're doing it, but it seems to be like something you should just be doing all the time anyway. So I throw that to Jordan and say, you know, as a new guy, you know, to go through and look for efficiencies, I think would just be proven business sense. But anyway, they're doing it, and hopefully they'll come up with some savings and some things we can do better differently. So that's what I did.
Great, thanks. And saving the best for last, Councillor Swift.
There we are. Well, I attended the water, sewer, sports commission meetings and the regional district meeting. In terms of sports, we had a delegation come from the United Soccer Group, and they're wanting to create a clubhouse, and they were interested in having a contribution of $150,000 in order to construct this. So we thank them for their presentation, and we'll see where this goes. The water meeting, we basically had a report regarding the water treatment plant, and it got behind schedule, but not terribly so. We're kind of back on track, and we're going for a tour of the facility next week as part of our water meeting. And lastly, I've been attending the Emergency Operations Center updates, which have been happening Tuesdays and Fridays. Very quiet. So there's not a lot to report out there. But stay tuned, and it's been extended to the end, 2 more weeks, I think, to the end of May. So, and I expect it'll be extended again after that. But they can only do it in 2-week increments. So, and that's my report.
Great, thanks. And yeah, I participated in quite a few Zoom calls. Did the Chamber of Commerce Zoom meeting with the other 2 mayors, Mayor Wells and Baird, and the business community, sewage meeting, the provincial calls with Minister Selena Robinson. Those are actually quite good. You get to ask one-on-one questions, they respond, and that's where we got the direct response from the manager of the LCRB to us to help move that liquor issue along. That's it. Just a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of conference calls, and I'm tired of I'm getting zoomed out, like many people are these days. But that is all I have to respond to. So, and that is it for the meeting. So move to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, thanks, folks. See you in a couple weeks.
Next week we can go for a beer.
Yeah.
Well.
Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you.
I see.
Hi, everybody.
Are we moving back to a committee